And joining us now is Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He is the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. And Senator Reed, I wanted to ask you about how easy and how hard was it for you to achieve what you did yesterday on the Senate floor, getting 97 votes on the Senate floor in what was essentially a rebuke of President Trump's rhetoric about NATO?
Well, we have the opportunity on the Senate floor to speak, and we were able to do that. Senator Menendez, Senator Durbin, Senator Murphy, Senator Schumer, and I think it was the arguments, but more than that, beyond a rebuke, it was an affirmation of our support for NATO, our recognition of its role in defending the United States over many, many decades. Also, recognition of the rule of law as a guiding principle in international relationships. And finally, asking the president to do what we asked last year in the defense bill, give us a report on the malign activities of Russia that's going on today. And what we got was a response, a bipartisan response, but it really wasn't about party. It was about this country, about representing our constituents, and about standing up for what we've stood up for decades. So it was a very satisfying, and I think it started a chain reaction, as you pointed out today, where the House felt they had to also do something like that. And hopefully it'll be a good counterpoint to what the president is doing in NATO, and we can move forward rather than retreat.
I saw that Senator McConnell actually voted on your side yesterday, but I wondered, did he put up any kind of roadblocks for you ahead of time on trying to do this?
No, we've had a very, very cooperative debate and process with the defense bill. That's tradition. And part of it, as I think, goes back to Senator John McCain, his inspiration. And even today, he's inspiring us with his conduct. And even before John, with John Warner and Carl Levin and many, many people. But this has been a very bipartisan process. And so when we indicated that we'd bring the resolution to the floor, the instruction of the conferees, there was no opposition. In fact, Senator Inhofe, my counterpart, the chairman or acting chairman, was supportive. So again, I think you saw yesterday people not talking about party, but talking about principle and making sure that the world understands we support NATO, we affirm our support for NATO.
And Senator Reed, your reaction to the way you saw the president representing the United States today at the NATO summit?
I think it's not helpful at all. In fact, I think it is ironically, perhaps merely coincidentally, doing what Vladimir Putin's been doing for many years now, which is trying to undermine NATO, trying to disparage NATO, trying to disparage one of its principal members, Germany. Also trying, Putin has been, to lower the prestige and the moral influence of the United States in Europe and around the world. So this is not helpful, particularly as he approaches his meeting with President Putin. I think a unified NATO, one that is committed to the shared values of freedom, of opportunity for its citizens, and a peaceful world, is much more effective than disparaging a country, one member, or all the members of NATO.
I was looking at comments by former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright today, talking about the things Donald Trump was saying about NATO 2 years ago and condemning that language 2 years ago. As this continues and as the rhetoric seems to increase, do you or other senators fear that the president might be trying to get the United States to actually leave NATO?
Well, that would be a catastrophic situation. NATO has been our front line of defense. We're there for our protection. This is not something gratuitous activity on behalf of the Europeans. They're the front lines. I would rather, frankly, be confronting Russia with forces there than not be there and have Russia influencing Europe. That would be detrimental, not only detrimental, as I said, catastrophic. So again, I think that these proposals to withdraw troops, et cetera, it not only would hurt us, but it just ignores the commitment and the contribution that NATO is making. For the first time, the Article 5 was invoked when we were attacked on 9/11. That was the European community coming to our assistance. European forces, NATO forces, have been with us in Afghanistan. They've lost personnel there. They've died along with our soldiers there, and sailors and Marines and airmen. They are with us in Iraq, helping to train Iraqi forces. They are in the Baltic countries as a tripwire to prevent another Crimea happening in the Baltic, where a hybrid operation by the Russians takes out one of our NATO members. This is a real commitment, and their increased spending after 2014 particularly is significant, about $87 billion. So disparaging NATO is, I think, a mistake. Leaving it would be a catastrophe.
Senator Reid, quickly before you go, did you hear any grumblings in the cloakroom or anything from Republicans that wouldn't have been on their microphones about being afraid of voting as they did yesterday in the Senate in what was essentially a rebuke of the president's rhetoric?
Not at all. No, again, I think they approached it as senators, as representatives of their constituents, as what was the right thing to do rather than what was the most convenient thing to do. And that, I think, accounts for the 97-2 votes. And in fact, I think both Senator Paul and Senator Lee have a consistent record of not being supportive of international organizations. So I think they felt, too, in principle, they were taking the vote that they should take.
Senator Reid, thank you very much for joining
Lawrence.
us tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you.